4.5 Joan of Arc. George Bernard Shaw. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. The war fought between England and France from 1337 to 1453 has come to be known as the 100 Years' War. Joan of Arc, nicknamed the Maid of Orleans, was born in France, a national heroine of France. At the age of 18, she led the French army to victory over the English at Orleans. At the time of Joan of Arc's birth, France was running a war with England known as 100 Years' War. The dispute began over who would be the next king, that is heir to the French throne. This play begins at the time when all of northern France and some parts of the southwest were under foreign control. The English controlled some parts and the Burgundians controlled the others. The city of New Orleans, one of the few remaining French cities, was held by the English. The year is 1429. Captain Robert de Baudricourt, a military officer, is seated at the table. Around this time, Joan of Arc began to have mystical visions encouraging her to lead a pious life. Over time, they became more clear with the presence of Saint Michael and Saint Catherine, designating her as the Savior of France and encouraging her to seek an audience with Charles, who had assumed the title Dauphin, that is, the next king to the throne, and ask his permission to expel the English and install him as the rightful king. This time, Joan's visions instructed her to contact Robert de Baudricourt, the garrison commander and a supporter of Charles. At first, Baudricourt refused Joan's request, but after seeing that she was gaining the approval of villagers, he relented and gave her a horse and an escort of several soldiers. Joan cropped her hair and dressed in men's clothes for her 11-day journey across enemy territory to Chinon, the site of Charles' court. At first, Charles was not certain what to make with this girl who asked for an audience and professed she could save France. Joan, however, won him over when she correctly identified him in a crowd of members of his court. They two had a private conversation during which, it is said, Joan revealed details of the prayer Charles had made to God to save France. Still, Charles wanted to examine her, and his men reported they found nothing improper with Joan, only pity and humility. Finally, Charles gave a horse and armor and allowed her to accompany the army of Orleans, the site of an English siege. In a series of battles, the French troops took control of the English fortifications. Joan was wounded but later returned to the front to encourage a final assault. By mid-June, the French had routed the English. After the victory at Orleans, she kept encouraging the Charles to be crowned king, but he and his admirers were more cautious. Finally, Charles was crowned. In this part of the play, Robert meets Joan of Arc first time. He says, "Don't assume that I will give you what you want." Joan says, "A horse will cost 16 francs. It is a big amount of money, but I can save it at the armor. The King of France will give me all I need to free Orleans." Then Robert asks, "Who is accompanying you?" She tells the names of 2 officers which are holding a higher post. Therefore, Robert agrees and gives whatever John wants. John tells Robert, "Our soldiers are always beaten because they are fighting only to save their skins, and the shortest way to save your skin is to run away. But I will teach them all to fight for France. Then they will drive the soldiers before them like sheep. You and these officials will live to see the day when there will not be a single English soldier on the soil of France." Robert says, "This is nonsense, but the troops might just be inspired by it, though nothing that we say seems to put any fire into them." And finally Robert accepts that there is something about her.
पाठ 6 वस्तू. द. भा. धामणसकर प्रसिद्ध कवी असून भावोत्कटता, चिंतनशीलता आणि प्रांजळपणा ही त्यांच्या कवितेची वैशिष्ट्ये आहेत. सामाजिक तणावांमुळे येणारी अस्वस्थता व्यक्त करताना संवेदनक्षम मनातील व्याकुळता आणि अभिव्यक्तीतील संयम ही त्यांच्या कवितेची आणखीन काही वैशिष्ट्य. त्यांचे कविता संग्रह प्रकाशित आहेत. मुक्तछंदातील ही कविता वस्तूंबद्दल आहे. मानवी भावना वस्तूंशी जोडली गेली की ती अनमोल बनते. वस्तू माणसाला दीर्घकाळ साथ देतात आणि माणूस आणि त्या वस्तूंमध्ये एक नातं निर्माण होतं. त्यामुळेच की काय थोर व्यक्तींच्या वापरातील वस्तू पुढे संग्रहालयात ठेवली जातात जतन करून. वस्तूंनाही मन आणि भावना असतात हे समजून त्या वापराव्यात आणि त्यांच्याशी निगडीत प्रेम जपावं ही भावना या कवितेतून व्यक्त होते. वस्तू निर्जीव असली तरी त्यांना जिवंत असल्यासारखं वागवावं, कारण आपल्याकडून मिळणाऱ्या प्रेमामुळे ती सुखावतात. वस्तू आपल्या उपयोगी पडणाऱ्या किंवा कामाला येणाऱ्या असतात, म्हणजेच काय तर थोडक्यात आपले सेवकच. पण तरी त्यांना दुय्यम दर्जा न देता बरोबरीचा दर्जा द्यावा. स्वतंत्र खोली नकोच असते त्यांना, पण तरी त्यांना त्यांच्या जागा ठरलेल्या असाव्यात आणि त्या जागी त्यांना बसवावं. आपण म्हणतो ना, गुड हाऊसकीपिंग म्हणजे प्लेस फॉर एव्हरीथिंग अँड एव्हरीथिंग इन इट्स प्लेस. आपल्याला स्वच्छतेची आवड असते तशीच ती वस्तूंना पण असते ना. स्वच्छ असतील तर वस्तू देखील प्रसन्न वाटतात आणि वास्तू देखील. काही आठवणी जपून ठेवलेल्या असतात वस्तूंमध्ये, त्यामुळे त्या आपण जपतो, लाडावून ठेवतो. पण त्याही पलीकडे त्यांच्यावरील आपलं प्रेम त्यांना जिवंत ठेवतं. तसंच वस्तू आपल्यानंतर आपली आठवण म्हणून राहतात इतरांसाठी. वस्तू तुटली फुटली म्हणजे आयुष्य संपलं त्यांचं. त्या संवेदनक्षम मनाने निरोप घ्यावा त्यांचा. किंवा नवीन वस्तू येणार आहे म्हणून जुनी वस्तू खराब करू नये, ती कुणाला तरी वापरायला द्यावी. वस्तू व्यक्तींच्या वापरातील असतील आणि ती व्यक्ती हयात नसेल तर वस्तू सहृदतेने कुणाला वापराव्यास द्यावी, अन्यथा योग्य ठिकाणी पोहोचती करावी, जसं संग्रहालय, ग्रंथालय, अनाथालय इत्यादी. कृती. कृती 1 ते 3 कविता वाचून आणि वर दिलेले स्पष्टीकरण वाचून तुम्हाला करता येईलच. 2. काव्य सौंदर्य. तुमच्याशी कोणी कसं वागलं तर तुम्हाला आवडेल किंवा आवडणार नाही याचा विचार करा आणि उत्तर लिहा. स्वच्छतेचा महिमा आहे इथे. घरातील कुठलीही वस्तू असो, शोभेची वा वापरातील, ती स्वच्छ असावी. घड्याळ बिघडू शकतं किंवा सायकल पंक्चर होऊ शकते. चांगल्या पेनातील शाई संपू शकते ऐन परीक्षेच्या वेळेला. अतिशय संवेदनशील विषय आहे हा. तुमच्या संवेदनाला चालना देऊन विचार करा आणि लिहा. कृती 3. पृष्ठ 22 आणि 23 वरील उपक्रम फारच सुरेख आहेत. ते तुमच्या उपयोजित लेखनाचा सराव करण्यासाठी तुम्ही लिहा. पाठ 2. 2 लघुकथाएं. नरेंद्र छाबड़ा. नरेंद्र छाबड़ा एक जाने माने कहानीकार हैं. कहानियों के साथ इन्होंने बहुत सी लघु कथाएं भी लिखी हैं। इनकी लघु कथाएं कई पत्र और पत्रिकाओं में भी नियमित रूप से प्रकाशित होती रही हैं। इनकी मुख्य कृति मेरी चुनिंदा लघु कथाएं आदि हैं। प्रस्तुत लेख में इनकी 2 लघु कथाएं दी गई हैं। प्रथम लघु कथा में लेखक ने दर्शाया है कि हम जब बड़े स्थानों में घूमने जाते हैं, जैसे कि होटल, मॉल, बड़ी दुकानों, तो वहां पैसे खर्च करते वक्त हम लोग मोल भाव नहीं करते, परंतु जब हम छोटे विक्रेताओं से यानी फेरी वाले, रेहड़ी वाले आदि इनसे सामान खरीदते हैं तो उनसे काफी मोल भाव करते हैं। हमें ऐसी सोच से बचना चाहिए। दूसरी लघु कथा में लेखक घूसखोरी और रिश्वतखोरी पर करारा व्यंग करते हुए कहते हैं कि सत्य का पालन ही हमें हमारे लक्ष्य तक पहुंचाने में सहायक होता है। कंगाल। लेखक ने वर्णन किया है कि इस वर्ष बेहद गर्मी हो रही थी। दिन तो अंगारों की तरह तप रहे थे और रात भी शीतलता प्रदान नहीं कर पा रही थी। इस उमस और पसीने से चिपचिप करते मौसम से राहत पाने के लिए वे एक पहाड़ी स्थान का पर्यटन करने जा पहुंचे। पहाड़ी स्थान अन्य स्थानों की अपेक्षा ठंडा होता है और गर्मी में शीतलता प्रदान करता है। वहां प्राकृतिक सौंदर्य, हरे भरे पहाड़, झरने और शीतल वायु आदि से उनका मन 2-3 दिनों में ही सुकून से भर उठा। एक शाम जब वो झील के किनारे टहल रहे थे, तब एक भुट्टे बेचने वाला उनके पास आया। लेखक ने एक भुट्टे का दाम पूछा और उस पर मोल भाव करने लगे। तत्पश्चात वो आगे बढ़ गए। उन्हें लगा कि भुट्टा उनके शहर के मुकाबले महंगा है। आगे बढ़ते ही एकाएक उन्हें ख्याल आया कि हम लोग घूमने में इतना पैसा खर्च करते हैं, होटलों और दुकानों में आराम से पैसे दे देते हैं, और यहाँ वे एक गरीब से 1-2 रुपयों के लिए झिकझिक कर रहे हैं। उन्हें एहसास हुआ कि ये फितरत हमारी कंगाली को दर्शाता है। लेखक ने तुरंत वापस आकर भुट्टे वाले से बिना मोल किए 4 भुट्टे खरीदे और सुकून का अनुभव करते हुए अपनी राह चल दिए। सही उत्तर। इस कथा का पात्र अपने जीवन के संघर्ष में अथक प्रयासरत था। नौकरी के लिए उसने अनेकों आवेदन दिए, कई साक्षात्कारों का भी सामना कर चुके थे, परंतु उसे सफलता नहीं मिल पाई थी। उसमें योग्यता तो थी ही, साथ ही कई प्रमाण पत्र भी उसके पास थे। फिर भी हर तरफ भ्रष्टाचार और रिश्वत फैला होने की वजह से उसे नौकरी नहीं मिली थी। वह निराश हो चुका था और भ्रष्ट सामाजिक व्यवस्था को कोस रहा था। अब तक के साक्षात्कारों में उसने देश प्रेम, नैतिकता, शिष्टाचार और ईमानदारी पर काफी तर्क दिए थे, लेकिन अब तक कुछ भी काम न आ सका था। आज फिर वह साक्षात्कार के लिए एक जगह आया था, जहां प्रतिनिधि मंडल के एक अधिकारी ने भ्रष्टाचार के बारे में उसकी राय पूछी। बस फिर क्या था, उसने भ्रष्टाचार को एक ऐसा कीड़ा बताया जो कि देश को घून की तरह खा रहा है और सामाजिक व्यवस्था को चिंताजनक स्थिति में लाकर खड़ा कर दिया है। अधिकारियों को यह तर्क काफी रुचिपूर्ण लगा और उनके चेहरे पर उत्सुकता भरी मुस्कान छा गई। दूसरे अधिकारी ने संवाद को आगे बढ़ाते हुए पात्र से रिश्वत के बारे में पूछा। पात्र ने रिश्वत को भ्रष्टाचार की ही बहन बताया। उसने कहा कि हम उपहार का आदान प्रदान अपने परिजनों और मित्रों के साथ करते हैं, जो कि खुशियों का प्रतीक होता है, परंतु रिश्वत एक ऐसा उपहार है जो कि रुके हुए कार्य, दबी हुई फाइल, पदोन्नति और नौकरी आदि के लिए दिया जाता है, और यह बिल्कुल भी उचित नहीं है। यह हमारे समाज के माथे पर एक कलंक है। ऐसा कहकर पात्र तेजी से कमरे से बाहर चला जाता है, क्योंकि उसे ज्ञात था कि जब इतनी योग्यता और प्रमाण पत्र के बावजूद उसे नौकरी नहीं मिली, तो फिर ऐसा कड़वा सत्य बोलने पर तो सफलता की बिल्कुल भी उम्मीद न थी। परंतु साक्षात्कार में बैठे अधिकारियों को उसका उत्तर काफी प्रशंसनीय लगा और आपस में विचार करने के बाद उन्होंने उसका चयन कर लिया। पात्र को यह बात समझ में आई कि सत्य भले ही कुछ समय के लिए हताश हो सकता है, परंतु असफल कभी भी नहीं हो सकता। सफलता सदा उसके कदम चूमती है।
Chapter 4 Financial Planning. What we will learn in this chapter? GST Introduction, different acronyms, GST tax invoice, GST computation and ITC, shares, mutual fund, SIP. Introduction to GST. GST, Goods Service Tax. The whole country follows this from 1st July 2017. This is one nation, one tax, one market. CGST, Central Goods Service Tax. SGST, State Goods Service Tax. IGST, Integrated Goods Service Tax. GSTIN, Goods and Service Tax Identification Number. This is Dealer's Identification Number. HSN, Harmonized System of Nomenclature, Numerical Code for Goods Classification. GSTIN Representation. 27 ABCDE 1234H 1Z5. 27 2-digit state code. 27 for Maharashtra. ABCDE 1234H 10-digit PAN of the firm. 1. Representation 1 organization. Z. Uniform for all. 5. Check some digit to confirm the validity of GSTIN. GSTIN mandatory for the dealer whose annual turnover in previous financial year exceeds Rs 20 lakhs. Sum. Praveen purchased air conditioner from General Electric. Discount of 5% was given on the printed price of Rs 40,000. Rate of GST charged was 28%. Find amount of CGST and SGST. Also find the purchase price of air conditioner. Given printed price of air conditioner Rs 40,000. Discount on printed price 5%. Rate of GST 28%. To find CGST and SGST. Solution. Amount after discount 40,000 minus 40,000 into 5 divided by 100 is equal to 40,000 minus 2,000 is equal to 38,000. As rate of GST is equal to 28%, rate of CGST is equal to rate of SGST is equal to 14%. CGST is equal to 14% of 38,000 is equal to 38,000 into 14 upon 100 is equal to 5,320. So, amount of CGST is equal to SGST is equal to Rs 5,320. Purchase price of air conditioner for Praveen, amount after discount plus CGST plus SGST is equal to 38,000 plus 5,320 plus 5,320 is equal to 48,640. So, the amount of CGST and SGST are Rs 5,320. Purchase price of air conditioner is Rs 48,000.
Chapter 5 Coordinate Geometry. This is x-axis and this is y-axis. They form a Cartesian plane. Coordinate geometry is the algebraic approach to geometry.
To find distance between any 2 points on an axis. 2 points on an axis are like 2 points on the number line. Part of the x-axis which shows negative coordinates is OX dash, and part of the y-axis which shows negative coordinates is OY dash. First, to find distance between 2 points on x-axis. Here, point A, x1 0, and point B, x2 0 are on x-axis such that x2 is greater than x1. Therefore, distance AB is equal to x2 minus x1. Then, to find distance between 2 points on y-axis. Here, point P 0, y1 and point Q 0, y2 are on y-axis such that y2 is greater than y1. Therefore, distance PQ is equal to y2 minus y1. Next, to find the distance between 2 points if the segment joining these points is parallel to any axis in the xy plane. Here, seg AB is parallel to x-axis. Therefore, y-coordinates of points A and B are equal. Therefore, distance AB is equal to x2 minus x1. Similarly, here seg PQ is parallel to y-axis. Therefore, x-coordinates of point P and Q are equal. Therefore, distance PQ is equal to y2 minus y1. Distance formula. Here, A x1 y1 and B x2 y2 are any 2 points in the xy plane. From point B, draw perpendicular BP on x-axis, and similarly from point A, draw perpendicular AD on seg BP. Seg BP is parallel to y-axis. Therefore, the x-coordinate of point D is x2. Seg AD is parallel to x-axis. Therefore, the y-coordinate of point D is y1. Therefore, AD is equal to distance AD is equal to x2 minus x1. BD is equal to distance BD is equal to y2 minus y1. In right angle triangle ABD, AB square is equal to AD square plus BD square is equal to x2 minus x1 bracket square plus y2 minus y1 bracket square. Therefore, AB is equal to under root x2 minus x1 bracket square plus y2 minus y1 bracket square. This is distance formula. Now the example, find the distance between point P and point Q. P is minus 5, 7 and Q is minus 1, 3. Suppose coordinates of point P are x1, y1 and point Q are x2, y2. Then x1 is equal to minus 5, y1 is equal to 7 and x2 is equal to minus 1, y2 is equal to 3. According to distance formula, distance PQ is equal to under root x2 minus x1 bracket square plus y2 minus y1 bracket square is equal to under root minus 1 minus into bracket minus 5 bracket square plus 3 minus 7 bracket square is equal to under root minus 1 plus 5 bracket square plus minus 4 bracket square is equal to under root 4 square plus minus 4 square is equal to under root 16 plus 16 is equal to under root 32 is equal to under root 16 into 2 is equal to 4 root 2. Therefore, distance between point P and Q is 4 root 2. Next one, verify that points P minus 2, 2, Q 2, 2 and R 2, 7 are vertices of a right angle triangle. Solution. First we'll find distance PQ, distance QR and distance PR. Distance PQ is equal to under root x2 minus x1 bracket square plus y2 minus y1 bracket square. Therefore, distance PQ is equal to under root 2 minus into bracket minus 2 bracket square plus 2 minus 2 bracket square by distance formula is equal to under root 2 plus 2 bracket square plus 0 square is equal to under root 4 square is equal to 4. Statement 1. Distance QR is equal to under root 2 minus 2 bracket square plus 7 minus 2 bracket square is equal to under root 0 square plus 5 square is equal to under root 5 square is equal to 5. Statement 2. And distance PR is equal to under root 2 minus into bracket minus 2 bracket square plus 7 minus 2 bracket square is equal to under root 2 plus 2 bracket square plus 5 square is equal to under root 4 square plus 5 square is equal to under root 16 plus 25 is equal to under root 41. Statement 3. From 1, 2 and 3, PQ square plus QR square is equal to PR square. Therefore, according to Pythagoras theorem, triangle PQR is right angle triangle. Division of line segment. Here we can see seg AB with point P on it. AP is equal to 6 and PB is equal to 10. Therefore, AP upon PB is equal to 6 upon 10 is equal to 3 upon 5. That means we can say that point P divides the line segment AB in the ratio 3:5. Let's see how to find the coordinates of a point on a segment which divides the segment in the given ratio. This is section formula. Point P on seg AB in xy plane divides segment AB in the ratio m:n. Assume A is x1 y1, point B x2 y2 and point P xy. Therefore, coordinates of the point which divides the line segment joining the points A x1 y1, B x2 y2 in the ratio m:n are given by mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n, comma my2 plus ny1 upon m plus n. The example, find the coordinates of point P if P divides the line segment joining the points A -1 7 and B 4 -3 in the ratio 2:3. Let the coordinates of point P be xy. Assume A is equal to x1 y1, B is equal to x2 y2. Therefore, x1 is equal to -1, y1 is equal to 7 and x2 is equal to 4 and y2 is equal to -3. The ratio is 2:3, therefore m is equal to 2 and n is equal to 3. Therefore, by the section formula, x is equal to mx2 plus nx1 upon m plus n is equal to 2 into 4 plus 3 into -1 upon 2 plus 3 is equal to 8 minus 3 upon 5 is equal to 5 upon 5 is equal to 1. Then y is equal to my2 plus ny1 upon m plus n is equal to 2 into minus 3 plus 3 into 7 upon 2 plus 3 is equal to minus 6 plus 21 upon 5 is equal to 15 upon 5 is equal to 3. Therefore, coordinates of point P are 1, 3.
Now next is about the coordinates of midpoints. If x1, y1 and x2, y2 are 2 points, then the coordinates of the midpoint are x1 plus x2 upon 2 and y1 plus y2 upon 2.
Centroid formula. Suppose the coordinates of vertices of a triangle are given, then we will find the coordinates of the centroid of this triangle. In triangle ABC, A x1 y1, B x2 y2 and C x3 y3 are the vertices. Seg AD is the median and G xy is the centroid. D is the midpoint of line segment BC. Then the coordinates of the centroid are x1 plus x2 plus x3 upon 3, y1 plus y2 plus y3 upon 3. This is called the centroid formula. Now the example, find the centroid of the triangle whose vertices are 3 minus 5, 4, 3, 11 minus 4. Assume x1 is equal to 3, y1 is equal to minus 5, x2 is equal to 4, y2 is equal to 3 and x3 is equal to 11, y3 is equal to minus 4. Let the coordinates of the centroid are xy. Then, according to centroid formula, x is equal to x1 plus x2 plus x3 upon 3 and y is equal to y1 plus y2 plus y3 upon 3. Therefore, x is equal to 3 plus 4 plus 11 upon 3 is equal to 18 upon 3 is equal to 6 and y is equal to minus 5 plus 3 minus 4 upon 3 is equal to minus 6 upon 3 is equal to minus 2. Therefore, the centroid of the triangle is 6 minus 2.
When we want to find out the slope of a line, slope is equal to vertical height upon horizontal distance. Triangle ABC is a right angle triangle where angle CAB is equal to 30. That is, angle CAB is equal to theta. That means theta is the angle which plane makes with the horizontal. Therefore, tan theta is equal to BC upon AB, that means vertical height upon horizontal distance, and therefore slope is equal to tan theta. The slope is denoted by m. Now here, slope of line AB is equal to tan theta is equal to m. If line AB coincides with x-axis, then naturally the inclination will be 0 degrees and therefore slope of line AB is equal to tan theta, that is equal to tan 0, that is equal to 0, and therefore slope of x-axis is 0. As the inclination of y-axis is 90 degrees and tan 90 is not defined, therefore slope of y-axis is not defined. Now here, line PQ is parallel to line AB and therefore slope of line PQ is equal to slope of line AB and therefore slopes of parallel lines are equal. Now we'll see the slope of a straight line passing through 2 points. Let P x1 y1 and Q x2 y2 be any 2 points on the line L. So slope of line PQ is equal to y1 minus y2 upon x1 minus x2. If x1 is equal to x2, then slope is not defined, and so that line will be y-axis or parallel to y-axis. Now the question. Using slope concept, check whether the following points are collinear or not. The points are A 7, 8, B -5, 2 and C 3, 6. So let A 7, 8 means x1, y1, B -5, 2 is x2, y2 and C 3, 6 is x3, y3. Now slope of line AB is equal to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1, that is equal to 2 minus 8 upon minus 5 minus 7, that is equal to minus 6 upon minus 12, that is equal to 1 upon 2. Now slope of line BC is equal to y3 minus y2 upon x3 minus x2, that is equal to 6 minus 2 upon 3 minus minus 5, that is equal to 4 upon 8, that is 1 upon 2. Now slope of line AB is equal to slope of line BC, and point B is the common point to both lines, and therefore points A, B, C are collinear. Next one. If the slope of the line joining points K minus 3 and 4, 5 is 1 upon 2, then find the value of K. Let P is K minus 3 and Q is 4, 5. So slope of line PQ is equal to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1, that is 5 minus minus 3 upon 4 minus K, that is 8 upon 4 minus K. But the slope is 1 upon 2, and therefore 8 upon 4 minus K is equal to 1 upon 2. Therefore 16 is equal to 4 minus K. Therefore K is equal to 4 minus 16. Therefore K is equal to minus 12.
Chapter 9. Carbon compounds. Except materials fabricated from metal and glass or soil, several other materials from foodstuff to fuels are made up of organic compounds. The essential element in all the organic compounds is carbon. About 200 years back, it was believed that organic compounds are obtained directly or indirectly from the organisms. However, after synthesis of the organic compound urea from an inorganic compound in the laboratory, the organic compounds received a new identity as carbon compounds, and these are called as organic compounds. The exception, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, carbide salts, etc., which are inorganic compounds of carbon. Then bonds in carbon compounds. Generally, the melting and boiling points of carbon compounds are found to be lower than 300 degrees Celsius. From this we understood that the intermolecular attractive forces are weak in carbon compounds. Also, the chemical bonds in carbon compounds do not produce ions. Let's see at the background of electronic configuration of carbon and the covalent bonds form. The driving force behind the formation of bond by an atom is to attain the stable electronic configuration of the nearby noble gas and obtain stability. As the valence shell of carbon contains 4 electrons, there can be many alternative routes to attain a noble gas configuration. The first is to attain the configuration of noble gas helium by losing one after another all the 4 valence electrons. In this method, the net positive charge on the carbon atom goes on increasing during loss of every electrons. Therefore, to lose the next electron, more energy is required, which makes the task difficult. Moreover, carbon plus 4 cation that would ultimately form in this process becomes unstable in spite of the noble gas configuration because it has a small size with high net charge. And therefore carbon atom does not take this route to attain a noble gas configuration. Then second, to attain the stable gas configuration of the noble gas neon by accepting 1 by 1 4 electrons in the valence shell. In this method, the net negative charge on the carbon atom goes on increasing while accepting every new electron. Therefore, more energy is required for accepting the next electron by overcoming the increasing repulsive force, making the task more difficult. Moreover, the carbon -4 anion ultimately formed would be unstable in spite of noble gas configuration, as it would have a small size with high net charge, making it difficult for the nuclear charge +6 to hold 10 electrons around it. Therefore, carbon atom does not take this route to attain a noble gas configuration. So third alternative, to attain the configuration of neon by sharing 4 electrons of valence shell with 4 valence electrons of other atoms. In this method, 2 atoms share valence electrons with each other. Valence shells of both the atoms overlap and accommodate the shared electrons. As a result, both the atoms attain a noble gas configuration without generating any net charge on them, which means that atoms remain electrically neutral and atom attain stability. And therefore carbon atom adopt this route to attain a noble gas configuration. The chemical bond formed by sharing of 2 valence electrons between the 2 atoms is called covalent bond. A covalent bond is represented by drawing an electron dot structure. In this method, a circle is drawn around the atomic symbol and each of the valence electrons is indicated by a dot or a cross. The covalent bond formed between the atoms is indicated by showing the circles around the atomic symbols crossing each other. The shared electrons are shown in the overlapping regions of the 2 circles by dot or cross. The electron dot structure is also drawn without showing the circle. One pair of shared electrons constitute one covalent bond. A covalent bond is represented by a small line joining the symbols of the 2 atoms, and this is structural formula. So here we can see the electron dot structure and line structure of hydrogen molecule with a single bond. The atomic number of hydrogen is 1. The atom contains 1 electron in K shell and requires 1 more electron to complete the K shell and attain the configuration of helium. For this, 2 hydrogen atoms share their electrons with each other to form hydrogen molecule. One covalent bond, that is a single bond, formed between 2 hydrogen atoms by sharing of 2 electrons. Then oxygen molecule. It is formed by chemical combination of 2 oxygen atoms. The 2 oxygen atoms in oxygen molecule are joined with each other by 2 covalent bonds, that is a double bond. And in the nitrogen molecule, 2 nitrogen atoms are joined with each other by 3 covalent bonds, that is a triple bond. Now let's consider a carbon compound methane CH4. Here we can see the line structure and also the electron dot structure of methane. Also, it can be represented in ball and stick model and space filling model. Carbon, a versatile element. Carbon is different than the other elements as the number of compounds formed from carbon is extremely large. In short, the entire living kingdom is made up from carbon. Our body is also made from carbon. So these are the characteristics of carbon. Carbon has a unique ability to form strong covalent bonds with other carbon atoms. This results in formation of big molecules. This property is catenation power. The carbon compounds contain open chains or closed chains of carbon atoms. An open chain can be a straight chain or a branch chain. Closed chain is a ring structure. The covalent bond between two carbon atoms is strong and stable. Due to this, carbon is bestowed with catenation power. Two carbon atoms can be bonded together by 1, 2 or 3 covalent bonds, which are called as single bond, double bond and triple bond respectively. Due to the ability of carbon atoms to form multiple bonds as well as single bonds, the number of carbon atom increases. Next, being tetravalent, one carbon atom can form bonds with 4 other atoms, carbon or any other. This results in formation of many compounds which possess different properties as per the atoms to which carbon is bonded. Carbon atoms form covalent bonds with atoms of elements like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, halogen and phosphorus to form different types of carbon compounds in large number. Next, carbon has one more characteristic known as isomerism. Now first we'll see hydrocarbons, saturated and unsaturated. The element hydrogen is present to a smaller or larger extent in majority of carbon compounds. The compounds which contain carbon and hydrogen as the only two elements are called hydrocarbons. The smallest hydrocarbon is methane CH4, formed by combination of one carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms. Ethane is one more hydrocarbon with molecular formula C2H6. The first step in writing the line structure of a hydrocarbon is to join the carbon atoms in the molecule with single bond. Then second step, use the hydrogen atoms in the molecular formula so as to fulfill the remaining valencies of the tetravalent carbon atoms. For example, molecular formula of ethane C2H6. First step, draw first carbon, single bond, second carbon. Step 2, there are in all 6 hydrogen atoms. So 1, 2, 3 for this carbon, 1, 2, 3 for this carbon. The tetravalency of both the carbon atoms is fulfilled. So this is the structural formula of ethane. This is electron dot structure of ethane. The valencies of all the atoms are satisfied by single bonds, so these are saturated compounds. Saturated hydrocarbons are also called alkanes. There are 2 more hydrocarbons that contain 2 carbon atoms, namely ethene C2H4 and ethyne C2H2. Let's draw the structural formulae. First step, for ethene, join the 2 carbon atoms with single bond. There are 4 hydrogen atoms, so 1, 2 for this carbon, 1, 2 for this carbon. It appears that one valency of each of the 2 carbon atoms is not satisfied, so we'll satisfy the tetravalency by drawing a double bond in place of a single bond between 2 carbon atoms. Now this is ethene. It is unsaturated hydrocarbon called as alkene. Now for ethyne, the molecular formula is C2H2. First we'll draw 2 carbon atoms CC, one hydrogen to this carbon, another one to this carbon. In order to satisfy the tetravalency of carbon, we have to draw triple bond in between these 2 carbon atoms. So the structure which contain a carbon-carbon triple bond is alkyne. Then straight chains, branch chains and rings of carbon atoms. If we compare the structural formulae of methane, ethane and propane, it is seen that the carbon atom lie in the core of the molecule, while the hydrogen atoms bonded to each of the carbon atoms are on the periphery of the molecule. The mutually bonded carbon atoms in the core are like the skeleton of the molecule. The carbon skeleton determines the shape of the molecule of a carbon compound. Now let's pay more attention to the carbon chain in butane. The 4 carbon atoms can be joined to form carbon chain either this way or this way. 2 different structural formulae are obtained on joining hydrogen atoms to these 2 chains so as to satisfy the tetravalency of the carbon atom. The molecular formula of these structural formulae is the same, that is C4H10. So the phenomenon in which compounds having different structural formulae but having the same molecular formula is called structural isomerism. This is a straight chain of carbon atoms known as N-butane, and this is a branch chain of carbon atom known as isobutane. Apart from the straight chains and branch chains, closed chains of carbon atoms are present wherein rings of carbon atoms form. For example, cyclohexane with structural formula C6H12. It is learned from the structural formula of benzene that it is a cyclic unsaturated hydrocarbon with 3 alternate double bonds in the 6-membered ring structure of benzene. The compounds having this characteristic unit in their structure are called aromatic compounds. Then functional groups in carbon compounds. Till now we have seen about the hydrocarbon compounds formed by combination of elements carbon and hydrogen. Many more carbon compounds are formed by formation of bonds of carbon with other elements such as halogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, etc. The atoms of these elements substitute one or more hydrogen atoms in the hydrocarbon chain, and thereby the tetravalency of carbon is satisfied. The atom of the element which is substitute for hydrogen is referred to as heteroatom. Sometimes heteroatoms are not alone but exist in the form of certain groups of atoms. The compounds acquire specific chemical properties due to these heteroatoms, and therefore heteroatoms or the groups of atoms containing heteroatoms are called functional groups. The carbon-carbon double and triple bonds are also recognized as functional groups as the respective compounds get specific chemical properties due to them. Now, heteroatom and functional groups, name, structural formula and condensed structural formula. Halogen, chlorine, bromine, iodine, name halo, chromo, bromo, iodo, structural formula X, Cl, Bri, condensed formula same. Then oxygen, heteroatom, name alcohol, structural formula OH, condensed formula OH. Aldehyde, CH double bond O, condensed structural CHO. Ketone, C double bond O, condensed CO. Carboxylic acid, C double bond O, OH, condensed COOH. Ether, O, condensed O. Ester, C double bond O, O, COO. Then heteroatom nitrogen, amines, NH2, NH2. Then homologous series. Up till now we have seen that chains of different lengths are formed by joining the carbon atoms to each other, and also a functional group can take place of a hydrogen atom on these chains. As a result of this, large number of compounds are formed having the same functional group but different length of carbon chain. For example, CH3OH, CH3CH2OH, CH3CH2CH2OH, CH3CH2CH2CH2OH, which contain alcohol as the functional group. Though the length of the carbon chain is different, the chemical properties are same due to the presence of same functional group in them. Such a series is called as homologous series. Homologous series of alcohols: methanol, ethanol, propanol, butanol. In any homologous series, while going in an increasing order of the length of the carbon chain, every time one methylene unit, that is CH2, goes on increasing. Also, there is a gradation observed in the physical properties. Then, nomenclature system of carbon compounds. 1. System of common names. Initially, when the number of known carbon compounds was small, scientists named them in a variety of ways. Today, these are known as common names. For examples, methane, ethane, propane, like that. Then two isomeric compounds having a straight chain or branch chain in their structural formula were named as N-butane, that is normal butane, and I-butane, that is isobutane. But as the carbon compounds became very large in number and their common names caused confusion, a need was felt to have a logical system acceptable to all for naming the carbon compounds. So, IUPAC nomenclature system. International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, that is IUPAC, put forth a nomenclature system based on the structure of the compounds and was accepted all over the world. There is a provision in this system for giving a unique name to all the carbon compounds. There are 3 units in the IUPAC name of any carbon compound. They are arranged like this: prefix, parent, suffix. Step 1. Draw the structural formula of the straight chain compound and count the number of carbon atoms in it. The alkane with the same number of carbon atoms is the parent alkane of the concerned compound. Write the name of this alkane. In case the carbon chain of the concerned compound contains a double bond, change the ending of the parent name from ANE to ENE. If the carbon chain in the concerned compound contains a triple bond, change the ending of the parent name from ANE to YNE. Step 2. If the structural formula contains a functional group, replace the last letter E from the parent name by the condensed name of the functional group as the suffix. Step 3. Number the carbon atoms in the carbon chain from one end to other. Assign the number 1 to carbon in the functional group if present. Otherwise, the chain can be numbered in 2 directions. Accept that numbering which gives smaller number to the carbon carrying the functional group. In the final name, a digit, that is number, and a character, that is letter, should be separated by a small horizontal line. Then chemical properties of carbon compounds. Hydrocarbons undergoes combustion in presence of oxygen to emit heat and light and form carbon dioxide and water as the common product. If we compare saturated and unsaturated compounds, the saturated compounds generally burn with a clean blue flame, while unsaturated carbon compounds burn with a yellow flame and release black smoke. Then oxidation. Carbon compounds start burning by combining easily with oxygen in the air when ignited in air. In this process of combustion, and carbon dioxide and water are formed as the products. Chemical compounds can also be used as source of oxygen that can give oxygen to other substances, and such substances are called oxidants or oxidizing agents. For example, potassium permanganate or potassium dichromate. Then addition reaction. When a carbon compound combines with another compound to form a product that contains all the atoms in both the reactants, it is called an addition reaction. Unsaturated compounds contain a multiple bond as their functional group, and they undergo addition reaction to form a saturated compound as the product. The unsaturated compound can also undergo addition reaction with hydrogen to form a saturated compound. However, it is necessary to use a catalyst like platinum or nickel for this reaction. This reaction is used for hydrogenation of vegetable oils in presence of nickel catalyst. The molecules of vegetable oil contain long and unsaturated carbon chains which are healthy, while saturated fats are harmful to health which contain single bonds. Then substitution reaction. As the single bonds CH and CC are very strong, the saturated hydrocarbons are not reactive and therefore they remain inert in presence of most reagents. However, saturated hydrocarbons in presence of sunlight react rapidly with chlorine. In this reaction, chlorine atoms replace one by one all the hydrogen atoms in the saturated hydrocarbon. The reaction in which the place of one of the atom or group in a reactant is taken by another atom or group of atoms is called substitution reaction. Then important carbon compounds, ethanol and ethanoic acid. First, ethanol C2H5OH. At room temperature, colorless ethanol is a liquid and this boiling point is 78 degrees Celsius. It is called alcohol or spirit. It is soluble in water and consumption of small quantities of dilute ethanol shows its harmful effects. It affects the physiological processes and the central nervous system. Consumption of even a small quantity of pure ethanol called absolute alcohol can be lethal, but it is used in medicines such as tincture iodine, cough mixture, and also in many tonics. Methanol CH3OH, the lower homologue of ethanol, is poisonous and intake of its small quantity can affect vision and at times can be lethal. And to prevent the misuse of the commercial solvent ethanol, it is mixed with poisonous methanol. Such ethanol is denatured spirit and a blue dye is added so that it is easily recognized. Then chemical properties of ethanol. All the alcohols react with sodium metal to liberate hydrogen gas and form sodium alkoxide salts. Then dehydration reaction. When ethanol is heated at the temperature 170 degrees Celsius with excess amount of concentrated sulfuric acid, one molecule of water is removed from its molecule to form ethene, an unsaturated compound. Then ethanoic acid CH3COOH. The functional group is COOH. First, reaction with base. Ethanoic acid gives neutralization reaction with a strong base sodium hydroxide to form a salt and water. The salt is sodium ethanoate or sodium acetate. Then reaction with carbonate and bicarbonate. Ethanoic acid reacts with basic salt, that is sodium carbonate, to form sodium ethanoate, water and carbon dioxide gas. The carbon dioxide gas of the effervescence passes through the gas delivery tube and reacts with the lime water in the small test tube. Lime water turns milky and it is the test of carbon dioxide gas. If sodium bicarbonate is used instead of sodium carbonate, similar observations are obtained. Then esterification reaction. Ethanoic acid reacts with ethanol in the presence of acid catalyst and ester, that is ethyl ethanoate, is formed. Esters have sweet color and majority of fruits owe their odor to a particular ester present in them. Esters are used for making fragrances and flavoring agents. Then ester plus sodium hydroxide gives sodium carboxylate plus alcohol. The reaction is saponification reaction, which is used for preparation of soap from fats. Chapter 5. Towards Green Energy. Dear students, in modern civilization, energy has become a primary need along with food, cloth, and shelter. We need energy in different forms for diverse types of works. The energy that we need may be in the form of mechanical, chemical, sound, light, or heat energy. How do we get these different forms of energy? Let's see. We know that energy can be converted from one form to another. So first we'll see generation of electrical energy. The electric power plant is based on the principle of electromagnetic induction invented by Michael Faraday. This principle states, whenever magnetic field around a conductor changes, a potential difference is generated across the conductor. The field around a conductor can be changed in two ways. If a conductor is stationary and magnet is rotating, the field around the conductor changes, or if a magnet is stationary but the conductor is moving, then also the field around the conductor will change. Thus, in both these cases, a potential difference is created across the conductor. The electrical power generating machine based on this principle is called electric generator. Such large generators are used in commercial power generation plants. Turbine is used to rotate the magnet in the generator. Turbine has blades. When a flow of liquid or gas is directed on the blades of the turbine, it rotates. It rotates because of the kinetic energy of the flow. This turbine is connected to electric generator. Thus, the magnet in electric generator starts rotating and electric energy is produced. So in short, to generate electricity based on principle of electromagnetic induction, we need a generator. To rotate the generator, we need a turbine. To drive the turbine, we need energy source. And based on which type of energy source is used to rotate the turbine, there are different types of power generating stations, and the design of the turbine differs accordingly. Then, thermal energy based electric power station. In this, the turbine is rotated using steam. Water is heated in a boiler. Using the thermal energy released due to burning of coal, steam of very high temperature and pressure is generated. The energy in the steam drives the turbine. Thus the generator connected to the turbine rotates and electrical energy is produced. The steam is converted back into water and water is recirculated to the boiler. Here the power plants are called thermal power plants. In thermal power plants, the chemical energy in the coal is converted into electrical energy through several steps. If you see a thermal power station, you will observe two types of towers. After combustion of fuel, here coal, in the boiler, the emitted gases are released to the atmosphere through very high tower. Once the turbine is rotated using the steam at high temperature and pressure, steam temperature and pressure decreases. This steam is converted back to water by taking out heat from it. That means by cooling it. This is done in the condenser using water in the cooling tower. The water in cooling tower is circulated through the condenser. Heat energy in the steam is given to the water and the steam condenses back to water. The heat absorbed by the water is then released to atmosphere through vapor and heated air through cooling tower. Although thermal power generation is a major way of electricity generation, it has certain problems. First, air pollution due to burning of coal. The emission of gases like carbon dioxide, sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide are harmful to the health. Secondly, soot particles are also released which may cause serious health problems related to the respiratory system. And thirdly, the reserves of coal are limited. Then, power plant based on nuclear energy. Here also, steam turbine is used to rotate the generator. However, the energy released by fission of nuclei of atoms like uranium or plutonium is used to generate the steam of high temperature and pressure. The energy in the steam rotates the turbine, which in turn drives the generator producing electricity. Here, nuclear energy is converted into thermal energy, then thermal into kinetic energy of steam, which is further converted into kinetic energy of turbine and finally into electrical energy. So let's see how does nuclear fission take place. When neutron is bombarded on atom of uranium-235, it absorbs the neutron and converts into its isotope uranium-236. Uranium-236 is extremely unstable and converts into atoms of barium and krypton through a process of fission releasing 3 neutrons and 200 megawatt energy. The 3 neutrons which are generated cause fission of 3 other uranium-235 atoms and more energy is released. This process of fission of uranium-235 atoms continues and is known as chain reaction. In nuclear power plants, a controlled chain reaction results in release of thermal energy which is used for electric energy generation. The advantages of nuclear power plant are: there are no problems like air pollution. Secondly, sufficient nuclear fuel is available. But there are few problems. The first one, the products after fission of nuclear fuel are also radioactive and emit harmful radiations. These are called nuclear waste, and there is a big challenge before the scientists about the disposal of nuclear waste safely. Secondly, an accident in nuclear power plant can be very fatal. Next, power generation plant based on energy of natural gas. Here, the turbine is run by a gas at very high temperature and pressure generated by combustion of natural gas. There are 3 main sections in this type of plant. Pressurized air is introduced into the combustion chamber using a compressor. In the combustion chamber, the natural gas burns in presence of the air, and the gas at very high temperature and pressure generated in this chamber runs the turbine. The turbine then drives the generator to produce electricity. The advantages of this power generation plant is: the efficiency of this power generation plant is higher than the power generation plant based on coal, and secondly, the natural gas does not contain sulfur, so it results in less pollution. Then electric energy generation and environment. Electricity generation based on fossil fuels like coal, natural gas and nuclear fuels like uranium and plutonium are not environment friendly. 1. We have seen that burning of fossil fuels like coal and natural gas leads to emission of certain gases and soot particles which results in air pollution. Secondly, it took millions of years for formation of fossil fuels and the reserves of these fuels are limited. Thirdly, in case of nuclear energy, there are problems of disposal of nuclear waste. Considering all these points, it can be said that the energy generation from fossil fuels and nuclear fuels are not environment friendly. So let's see about hydroelectric energy. Hydroelectric energy. Kinetic energy in flowing water or the potential energy in water reservoir is a conventional source of energy. In hydroelectric power plant, the potential energy in water stored in dam is converted into kinetic energy of water. Through pipe, the fast flowing water is brought from the dam to the turbine at the bottom of the dam. The kinetic energy of the flowing water drives the turbine and in turn the turbine drives the generator to generate electricity. Water from about middle of the total height of the dam is taken to the turbine. Now these are the advantages of hydroelectric power generation. Since no fuel is burnt, there is no pollution. If there is sufficient water storage in the dam, it is possible to generate electricity as and when necessary. Although water reservoir is used for power generation, it can be replenished during rainy season, leading to uninterrupted power generation. But even then there are some problems. The first one, the backwater due to storage of water in dam may submerge villages or towns in that area. This leads to the problems of rehabilitation of the displaced population and moreover this can also submerge forest as well as fertile land. Secondly, the obstruction of the flow of the river water may have adverse effect on living world in the river. Next is electricity generation using wind energy. The machine which converts the kinetic energy of wind to electrical energy is called wind turbine. As the wind strikes the blades of the turbine, the blades rotate. The axle of the turbine is connected to electric generator through a gearbox. The function of the gearbox is to increase the rotations per unit time. Thus, the rotating blades drive the turbine and the turbine in turn drives the generator to generate electricity. Wind turbines with capacity right from less than 1 kilowatt to about 7 megawatt, that is 7000 kilowatt, are commercially available. Wind velocity is usually high on seashores and that environment is appropriate for installation of wind turbine. Wind energy is a clean energy source. However, the wind velocity necessary for wind energy generation is not available everywhere and therefore the use of wind energy is limited. Next is electric energy generation using solar energy. Using the energy in the sunlight, electric energy can be generated in two ways. First one, electrical energy can be generated directly from solar radiation without using generator and without using the principle of electromagnetic induction. This happens in solar photovoltaic cells. Solar photovoltaic cells convert the solar energy directly into electrical energy. Second method, the energy in solar radiation is converted into thermal energy first and then a turbine generator system is driven using that thermal energy to generate electricity. So let's see about solar photovoltaic cell. This cell converts the solar radiation energy directly into electrical energy, and the electrical energy generated through this is DC in nature. These solar cells are made of a special type of material which is semiconductor, for example silicon. If two solar cells are connected in series, the potential difference obtained from this combination is addition of the potential differences of individual solar cells. However, the current generated from this combination is equal to the current from an individual cell. It means that when solar cells are connected in series, currents from the individual cells are not added. Also, if two solar cells are connected in parallel, the current generated from this combination is the summation of the currents from an individual solar cells. However, the potential difference obtained from this combination is the same as the potential difference obtained from individual cell. Thus, if two solar cells are connected in parallel, the potential differences from the two cells are not added. In this way, by connecting many solar cells in series and in parallel, solar panels generating required current and potential difference are made. If a solar panel receives power of 100 watt from solar radiation, the electrical power output from the panel will be 15 watt. Many solar cells come together to form a solar panel. Many solar panels connected in series form a solar string, and many solar strings connected in parallel form a solar array. The power available from the solar cells is DC, so in applications which need DC power, that is light emitting diodes, the energy can be directly used. However, since the energy from solar cells is available only in presence of sunlight, the energy has to be stored in batteries for use at later time. Most of the equipment in domestic as well as industrial use run on AC power. In such cases, the DC solar power must be converted to AC power using inverter. So the main advantage is that electricity is generated without any fuel combustion and without any air pollution. So let's see solar thermal power plant. Thermal energy can also be generated from solar radiation and can be used for electricity production. Many reflectors reflect and concentrate solar radiation on absorbers, and their solar energy is converted into heat energy. By using this heat energy, steam is generated to drive the turbine and generator.
झंकारती सरसावती हे पाऊल क्षितिजा पुढती, नव्या युगाची नवीन प्रणाली भविष्य अमुच्या हाती. अभ्यासाची भीती पळाली, परीक्षा झाली सोपी, झंकारले शिक्षण सारे, नव्या पिढीतून घुमती वारे. झंकाराची साथ घेऊनी घडवू भविष्य अवघे, झंकारले शिक्षण सारे, नव्या पिढीतून घुमती वारे.
झंकार एज्युकेशनल सीडीज, चला स्मार्ट बनूया.
नमस्कार माझ्या मित्रांनो. इतिहास म्हटलं की काय आठवतं आपल्याला? बरोबर, शिवरायांचा पराक्रम, भारतीय स्वातंत्र्य संग्राम आणि त्यातील थोरांची स्फूर्तिदायक कामगिरी. हा इतिहास जेव्हा नाटकातून आणि सिनेमातून आपल्यापुढे येतो तेव्हा तो नक्कीच स्फूर्तिदायक वाटतो. पण अभ्यासात येतो तेव्हा गंमत अशी आहे की आजच्या तांत्रिक युगात जितके महत्त्व माहिती तंत्रज्ञान आणि इतर अनेक तंत्रज्ञानाशी निगडित विषय व व्यवसाय याला आहे, तितकेच किंबहुना त्यापेक्षा जास्त महत्त्व हे इतिहास व भूगोल या विषयांना आहे. आश्चर्य वाटले ना? पण हे खरं आहे. कोणताही व्यावसायिक, राज्यकर्ता किंवा शास्त्रज्ञ नवीन काहीही सुरू करताना नेहमीच त्या व्यवसायाशी निगडित आणि विषयाशी निगडित मागील काही वर्षांमध्ये काय घडले याचा जरूर अभ्यास करतो. उद्या तुम्ही निरनिराळ्या विषयांचे पदवी अभ्यासक्रम अंगीकाराल, पुढे व्यावसायिक व्हाल, कलाकार व्हाल, राज्यकर्ते देखील व्हाल किंवा मोठे तंत्रज्ञान व्हाल, तेव्हा इयत्ता 10वीच्या या नवीन इतिहासात शिकलेल्या संकल्पना तुम्हाला नक्कीच उपयोगी पडतील.
पाठ 1 क्षेत्रभेट. तुम्ही जिथे राहता त्या परिसरात समजा एक क्षेत्रभेट आयोजित केली तर तुम्ही तिचे नियोजन कसे कराल बरं? तर तुम्ही साधारण पुढील बाबी नियोजन करताना विचारात घ्याल, हो की नाही? जिथे क्षेत्रभेट देणार आहात त्या ठिकाणी जायला योग्य वेळ आणि काळ हा विचार करावा लागेल. मग सर्वांच्या सोयीने तारीख पक्की करावी लागेल. किती दिवस प्रवासाला लागतील याचे नियोजन करावे लागेल. प्रवास कसा करायचा, कोणत्या माध्यमातून करायचा, म्हणजे बसने का रेल्वेने का अजून कुठले माध्यम लागेल हा विचार करावा लागेल. त्याला लागणारा आणि मुक्कामाचा खर्च किती येईल, शिवाय नाश्ता, जेवण वगैरे गोष्टी खर्चात लक्षात घ्याव्या लागतील. त्याच्यानंतर मग किती विद्यार्थी आणि कोण शिक्षक बरोबर येणार हे लिहून काढून त्याप्रमाणे सर्वांना कळवायला लागेल. पुढे आपल्या सुरक्षेच्या दृष्टीने सोबत ओळखपत्र, इतर काय गोष्टी लागतील हा विचार करावा लागेल. सोबत काय काय गोष्टी नेणार, म्हणजे कॅमेरा, दुर्बीण, टोपी, पाण्याची बाटली, नकाशा, प्राथमिक उपचार पेटी, ओळखपत्रे, वही, पेन्सिल, पेन, दिशादर्शक उपकरण आणि सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचे म्हणजे या क्षेत्रभेटी दरम्यान तुम्ही काय पाहणार आहात आणि काय अभ्यासणार आहात हे मुद्दे माहीत पाहिजेत. आता आपण ब्राझील आणि भारताचा तुलनात्मक अभ्यास करणार आहोत की नाही? यात प्राकृतिक अभ्यास, जलप्रणाली, वनस्पती व वन्यजीवन, हवामान आणि मग याला अनुसरून मनुष्य जीवन, त्याचा विकास कसा झाला आणि त्यात काय समस्या आहेत हे आपण पाहणार. म्हणजे तुमच्या क्षेत्रभेटी दरम्यान तुम्ही देखील प्रवासादरम्यान भूरचना, मृदा, तिथे नद्या, तलाव, समुद्र किंवा इतर काही जलप्रणाली आहे का, नंतर वनस्पती, वन्यजीवन कसे आहे, वस्त्यांमध्ये दिसणारे बदल, कुठे वस्ती दाट आहे, कुठे विरळ आहे, तिथे शेती कोणत्या प्रकारची आहे, प्राथमिक आणि इतर पूरक व्यवसाय कसे आहेत हे अभ्यासले पाहिजे. हे अभ्यासताना पुढील क्षमतांची उजळणी करूया. आता क्षमता आणि त्यांचं एक एक उदाहरण असं आपण बघूया. निरीक्षण करणे. आता चढ उताराची भूरचना दिसणे, शेती दिसणे, ठराविक प्रकारची माती दिसणे, थोड्या अंतराने सपाट भूमी दिसणे, जलाशय दिसणे, पक्षी निरीक्षण इत्यादी ह्याची उदाहरणं झाली. आता वर्गीकरण करणे. यात काय येईल तर एखाद्या प्रदेशात दिसणाऱ्या वनस्पतींचे निरनिराळ्या प्रकारात वर्गीकरण करणे, वन्यजीव वर्गीकरण इत्यादी. फरक करणे. जसं वनस्पतींच्या प्रकारामध्ये होणारा बदल त्या प्रदेशातील पर्जन्यमानाच्या प्रमाणातील बदलाचा सूचक आहे. तुम्हाला कुठे अंजन, वड, पिंपळ हे वृक्ष जास्त प्रमाणात दिसतील, तर कुठे नारळी पोफळी, फणस, केळी ही झाडं दिसतील, तर कुठे सागाची झाडं दिसतील, कुठे खारफुटी दिसेल. तुलना करणे. समजा तुम्ही क्षेत्रभेटीला सह्याद्री घाटमाथा व पुढे कोकणात जाणार असाल तर सह्याद्रीच्या घाटमाथ्यावर पण पुण्यासारख्या शहराजवळील गाव आणि दूरवर दुर्गम भागातील गाव या ठिकाणी जीवनमान आणि व्यवसाय यात तुलना करणे. आलेख वाचन. आपण 5वी पासून याचा अभ्यास केलाय, बरोबर की नाही? आता उदाहरणार्थ पर्जन्यमान आलेख, यात तुम्ही उजळणी म्हणून स्तंभालेख, रेषालेख इत्यादी परत अभ्यासा. नकाशा व आकृती वाचन. आठवा तो नकाशा बरं, ज्यात तुम्ही महाराष्ट्रातील प्रमुख पिके नकाशावर अभ्यासली होती. तुमच्या क्षेत्रभेटीच्या दरम्यान तुम्ही समजा त्या भागाचा नकाशा बरोबर ठेवलात आणि ऊसाची शेती पाहिली तर तुम्ही त्याच्यावर नोंद करू शकाल. मूल्यमापन करणे. समुद्रकिनाऱ्यावर मासेमारी व्यवसाय आणि पर्यटन वाढावे म्हणून शासनाने काही योजना राबवल्या असतील तर त्या कितपत यशस्वी झाल्या हे पद्धतशीरपणे शोधून काढणे. निष्कर्ष काढणे. उदाहरणार्थ, तुम्ही जसजसे समुद्राच्या जवळ जाता तसं तुम्हाला हवेच्या बदलाची जाणीव होते आणि हवेतील आर्द्रता वाढल्यामुळे घामही येतो, त्वचा चिकट होते. आपण जसजसं समुद्राच्या अधिक जवळ जाऊ तसतसं आर्द्रतेचं प्रमाण वाढेल. मग तुम्ही पाहता की या भागात पाऊस सुरू झालाय आणि पावसाचं प्रमाणही जास्त दिसतं. मग तुम्ही असा निष्कर्ष काढता की या प्रदेशात पाऊस जास्त पडत असल्यामुळे तसेच समुद्र सान्निध्यामुळे येथे हवेतील आर्द्रता वाढल्यामुळे घाम येतो आणि त्यामुळे त्वचा चिकट होते. विश्लेषण करणे. तुम्ही जर क्षेत्रभेटीच्या दरम्यान कुलाबा किल्ला पाहिला तर तुम्हाला लक्षात येईल की हा किल्ला पाण्यात बांधलाय. हा किल्ला तरंगघर्षित मंचावर बांधला आहे. पुळण, सागरी गुहा, तरंगघर्षित मंच, वाळूचा दांडा ही सागरी भूरूपे आहेत. सागर किनाऱ्याच्या रक्षणासाठी असे किल्ले बांधले जातात. सादरीकरण करणे. तुम्ही गोळा केलेली माहिती मुद्देसूद पद्धतीने सादर करणे, जसे क्षेत्रभेटीचा अहवाल लिहिणे. चिकित्सक विचार. तुमच्या क्षेत्रभेटीदरम्यान तुम्ही तलाठी कार्यालयाला भेट देऊन त्या परिसरातली पिके, मृदा प्रकार, फळं आणि इतर नगदी पिके याबाबत प्रश्न तयार करणे की ज्यामध्ये चिकित्सक पद्धतीने तुम्हाला याच्या उत्तरांची सांगड परिसरात गोळा केला जाणारा महसूल, सिंचनाखालील क्षेत्र, पाणलोट क्षेत्र कार्यक्रम आणि परिसरातील इतर व्यवसाय याच्याशी घालता येईल. तर अशा प्रकारे आपल्याला ब्राझील आणि भारत हा तुलनात्मक अभ्यास करायला लागणाऱ्या क्षमतांची उजळणी क्षेत्रभेटीत करून झाल्यावर आता आपण दुसऱ्या धड्याकडे वळूया.